And this is going to be a chance for you to break addictions, break patterns. We have so much wisdom to share with you in this episode. Explore, Breathe Into It, which is a book that Kevin wrote. It was very compelling. You're a great writer.
Thank you. And so this is the method that I created to help people get past their addictions. So I kind of discovered this method just naturally. And I didn't realize that I had healed myself in an interesting way until years later when I kind of came to the conclusion that I don't think many people are doing this. And once I got out of the depression, then I was able to kind of step back and say, okay, now these addictions I need to handle. If I was just able to use breath work to heal myself from depression, why can't I use it to heal myself from these addictions? But when you're able to actually stop and sit there and notice or acknowledge that emotion that's coming up, notice those sensations that are occurring in your body, then you can start to see, okay, now I see what's happening. Substances are not addictive. Our brains are just wired for addiction. Through the last 4 years that I've been working on understanding breath more, I wanted to really go deeper and understand how this affects our heart and how it affects our brain waves, because your breathing controls the pattern of your heart. And so when you're able to slow that down, suddenly the pattern of your heart changes to these beautiful wave-like patterns. And that's when you create this coherence with your heart. And when you create that coherence, your ability to control your impulses goes way, way up. I think there's 3 really powerful times to practice breath work. The first is the
Welcome to the We Are Healing in Paradise podcast, where we are cultivating the new earth by reconnecting with our true nature and healing the planet from inside each of us. Welcome back to the We Are Healing in Paradise podcast. My name is Kate.
My name is Rosario.
And we are here with a really inspiring friend, Kevin from Reconnect. And we are so honored that you've joined us for this really important conversation. This is going to be a chance for you to break addictions, break patterns. We have so much wisdom to share with you in this episode. So make sure to sit down and relax with us. Enjoy this experience. We're here in La Canape in the center of Playa del Carmen. There might be a little background noise. It might be a little bit crazy, but we invite you to be present with us as we go on this journey to explore, Breathe Into It, which is a book that Kevin wrote. And we're excited to share his story and learn a little bit more about how it all started here in Playa del Carmen. So we'd love to hear a little bit about how you came here.
Yeah. First of all, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. And I've seen a few of your episodes, and I love it. It's really powerful stuff. So again, thanks so much for having me on. Yeah, so I arrived in Playa del Carmen in 2021, at the very beginning of 2021. I was a COVID migrator, and I had been working in human trafficking prevention, and kind of just the nature of that work had spiraled me into depression, and I was suicidal, and I was literally standing outside of pharmacies here in Playa, kind of planning the departure, if you will.
Big jump.
The big jump, yeah. And
No.
so luckily, when I was here, I came across breathwork, and right around the same time, I was taking my first ice bath, and within 10 days, my depression was gone. And so for the next 4 years, I've been kind of reverse engineering everything that happened. Because I've had so many people in my life and my family, really struggle with depression, go on to antidepressants for years and years and years and never heal. So I've been really trying to understand how that happened and how it happened so quickly. So that's what brought me here to Playa.
Wow, a lot of people come here to heal.
Yeah. So when you discovered this method, how was the impact of your lifestyle?
Yeah.
And how is related to a mindset?
Mm-hmm. So I kind of discovered this method just naturally, and I didn't realize that I had healed myself in an interesting way until years later when I kind of came to the conclusion that I don't think many people are doing this. And in my depression, I had acquired some addictions. I became addicted to porn, to alcohol. I was smoking cigarettes all the time. And once I got out of the depression, then I was able to kind of step back and say, okay, now these addictions I need to handle. If I was just able to use breath work to heal myself from depression, why can't I use it to heal myself from these addictions? So I started doing this process where every time I had an urge or a craving, I would stop and close my eyes and breathe and try to acknowledge what was the emotion that I'm feeling in that moment. But not only what's the emotion, what's the sensations in my body? Because emotions are kind of just sensations, right? Like it's not so much in the mind, it's so much in the body. And a lot of times we want to escape or ignore those emotions, but those emotions are literally just, it's a tightness in the belly, right? It's a tension in the chest. It's like a burning sensation in the shoulders. It's all these different uncomfortable physical sensations. And I realized that if I could sit there and breathe for 90 seconds, it would pass. It doesn't mean that it wouldn't come up again, but I would literally just repeat this process over again. And I learned that it was all about deconditioning. It wasn't about using my willpower to say like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. Or switching the habit, which is what a lot of people try to do, right? They try to say like, I'm going to do yoga instead of drinking. But they haven't deconditioned their brain yet. And so the deconditioning part was what I kind of taught myself like unconsciously almost. And so that's why I had created this method to try and help other people who are struggling with addiction, not just to substances, but right to behaviors, to people, like to patterns, all these different things, because you can use this method in the exact same way for those.
Yeah, you say something really important about like how people can change something to the other, and it's related with the mind. But it's true, because it's like it's easy to, I don't want to eat this cake, so I'm going to eat now the ice cream that is diet. So it's just tricking the mind, but at the end you're not targeting the emotions now, right? And with the breath, it's like you need to still and let the process go and understand you, right?
Yeah, and it's not, I'm not saying people can't do that. Like people can use willpower, they can do habit switching, like it can work. But in a lot of ways, you're not addressing the root cause, right? Because with habit switching, you're kind of just saying, okay, instead of drinking tonight, I'm going to go and do yoga, which is great. I highly recommend that. But then when you get back, there's a good chance you might still experience the exact same feeling, right? Puppy in the scene. So it goes back to Pavlov's dogs, right? Like this is the example that I always use. And Pavlov was trying to understand the salivation and behaviors of his dogs. So he planted these sensors in the dogs' mouths, and he would ring a bell, and the dogs would salivate, and then he would feed them, right? He would ring the bell, feed them, ring the bell, feed them. So they started to learn that the bell meant food. Now, if he were to take those dogs and after doing this experiment and put them on a desert island for a year, let's say, and then bring them back and ring the bell, they would still salivate, right? Because they know, they've been trained that the bell means food. So what he had to do was ring the bell and not feed them. Ring the bell, not feed them. Ring the bell, not feed them. And eventually they stopped salivating at the sound of the bell because he had deconditioned their brain. So that's why, in my opinion, habit switching can be difficult because that deconditioning doesn't exist. But when you're able to actually stop and sit there and notice or acknowledge that emotion that's coming up, notice those sensations that are occurring in your body, then you can start to see, okay, now I see what's happening. And when you do this as you're breathing, slow, deep breaths, your body starts to say, I actually crave this other thing that you're doing way more than indulging in the cigarette or the alcohol or the porn or the whatever it may be.
Yeah, like it's triggering all the neurotransmitters, right? In a way, serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, like all the habits, we get some of them, and then yeah, you're right. Like for me, it's super important. Like when I stopped smoking, I was smoking like a box of cigarettes every day. This is the truth. But then I understand that I was smoking a lot because I want to breathe. For me, it was important, like how I can. I was so mad in some years of my life, really mad. So I was like always like like breathing really shallow, barely, and then when I feel like I need to, like like this shortness of the breath, then I smoke, and it was like okay, like. But I understand that also breathing with the mouth is actually not good. So imagine like we're breathing, but the opposite. So, and then I understand that I need to start breathing, and then when I start breathing, I start calming myself. I don't do breathworks like too much, but I'm learning. This is a good thing. Like Kate said to me, like you need to breathe. So it's helping me a lot with that. But it's amazing because when you start breathing, then you oxygenate like all the brain and everything, and then the nervous system start calming down. So a lot of people doesn't know like techniques, and at the end of this, can you show us like a mini practice?
Sure.
Okay. Well, at the end.
I would love to hear some of the research that you've done around the breathwork. Like she's saying all these things, but what have you found? Because I know you've been like studying it.
Yeah. Can I actually address this first, though?
Yes.
Because you bring up a really good one, which is smoking. And I think smoking is one of the easiest ones to get rid of. And this idea that smoking is one of the hardest things to quit is put out by the tobacco companies. And this was part of their plan, that they make everyone believe that quitting cigarettes is the hardest thing. And so it just keeps you addicted. And even, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Gabor Mate, who's one of the top leading psychologists and addiction experts in the world. He says, and I believe this too, substances are not addictive. Our brains are just wired for addiction, okay? So when I got into breath work, I was also smoking a pack a day. And by implementing breath work daily, the smoking is your body doesn't need it anymore, because what you're doing is, especially when you're starting the day with breathing, like you said, you're fully oxygenating your body. You're taking these slow breaths, you're breathing deeply, and that's exactly what smoking is, right? You're stopping and breathing deeply. It has nothing to do with the nicotine. It has everything to do with your body's desire to breathe. So for people who smoke, like, just know that, like, first of all, it's not as addictive as you think it is. If you can do 10 days where you wake up every morning and you do 10 minutes of deep breathing, you're going to see that your urges go down very, very quickly. Okay. So I just wanted to say that first.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so through the last 4 years that I've been working on understanding breath more, I wanted to really go deeper and understand how this affects our heart and how it affects our brain waves. Specifically brain waves connected to addiction and anxiety, because both of those states, like when we are deep in addiction and when we're having urges and cravings, our brain looks almost identical to when we're having severe anxiety. So I wanted to understand what would happen if I used various slow breathing techniques, which is kind of like the foundation of the Reconnect instructor training. And so I've done about 65 participants. I've scanned their brain. I hooked them up to heart rate coherence and heart rate variability monitors. And we saw big changes. So for people who have anxiety or addiction, their beta waves, which are the brain waves associated, like right now we're mostly in beta, right? It's these like processing, learning, listening. But high beta is where the anxiety and addiction occurs. So someone who's in that state, their beta waves are really high. Their alpha waves, which is what is related to calm, to relaxation, to emotional regulation, are super low. Like they're down here. And so I found in these studies, in 5 minutes of breathing, just 5 minutes, their beta waves, right, the high ones, reduced by 18%, and the alpha waves, which were really low, increased by 23.5%.
Wow.
And this was just 5 minutes of breathing. So this has to do with not just emotional regulation, right, which in the moment looks like, okay, I just got a really terrible email. Now I feel stressed, and now the stress creates my urge to eat, to smoke, to drink, right? That connection. So not only does it help with that emotional regulation of being like, okay, this is stressful, but I can handle it. It also helps with the impulse control, which is like, I want a cigarette, but I don't need it right now. So that's the shifts that I've been seeing with the brain. Then we have the heart coherence, which is essentially just aligning your breath, your heart, and your nervous system via breathing. And what we were able to see was people who have addictions, people who have anxiety, their heart's pattern is like these rocky, jagged edges, like it's all over the place, right? Because your breathing controls the pattern of your heart. And so when you're able to slow that down, suddenly the pattern of your heart changes to these beautiful wave-like patterns. And that's when you create this coherence with your heart. And when you create that coherence, your ability to control your impulses goes way, way up.
Because when we're feeling that anxiety or that stress or that, like, maybe we could say like a uncomfortable emotion, that's when we want to escape into our coping mechanism. So essentially we can train ourselves to use breath as a coping mechanism, but it's a healthy thing. It's like actually how our body is going to regulate its nervous system and everything.
Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I call them a cushion. So a cushion is something you use to escape a negative emotion, which always creates a net negative result, right? So you're working and you have a presentation tomorrow and you're like, okay, I'm really nervous. I'm really stressed about this presentation. I'm going to go out and get a massive carrot cake because food is maybe your escape, right? And so you eat that and now you feel like super bloated and now you feel like guilty that you just ate this whole massive thing. So you feel even worse. And so it's about which cushion you use to escape that negative emotion. And for some people, it's food. For other people, it's cigarettes. For other people, it's porn. It doesn't mean that you're addicted to food. It doesn't mean that you're a sex addict. It doesn't mean that like you're a bad person. It just means you chose that particular cushion in the moment. But it really has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the emotion that you're trying to escape. So, I think if we can, it's not a technique for everyone. Like some people need groups, some people need support. But I think a lot of us, especially nowadays with what addiction looks like in this world, which
we have now the phone.
Exactly.
That is good sometimes, but it's bad when we use it a lot of time. People use it like 5 hours per day sometimes or more. So
right, and now they're seeing that short form videos, this scrolling of short form videos is actually worse than alcohol because it's just one constant dopamine spike after the next, after the next, after the next. And so they're seeing in people that the real world is seemingly less or more dull. And so people are like, I need more stimulation. I need more. And so the phone addictions seem less harmful, but in many ways they're actually becoming more.
So the addictions makes you stay like in a beta state, in a way.
Right.
All the time.
High beta.
Yeah. Okay.
Because low beta is good. Low beta is like learning, it's processing things, it's doing multiple things at one time.
Okay. So that's why maybe... There's a question. Like maybe the people don't sleep well at the end of the day, because I'm having this in my mind, like how is related to breathe correctly during the day and then to have a good sleep. because
Yeah.
people don't relate that. Like with me, this is like, oh, I don't care. Like I never have this question in my life. Now it's like if I breathe properly, I'm going to sleep well.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like it's possible. How do you relate the sleep with the breath work?
In many ways, the biggest one, I'd say there's two big ones. The first one is breathing through your nose,
Okay.
which many people breathe through their mouth unconsciously all the time. And it does a lot of things, but I think the main things are it's increasing your heart rate, it's increasing your blood pressure, and it's activating that sympathetic response. So it's literally sending all your energy out to your extremities to prepare to fight or, protect yourself. So you're doing that all day long, and then when people are sleeping, they're breathing through their mouth as well. They're snoring. So it's like this all-day unconscious sympathetic activation, and people wake up and they're like, God, I don't feel rested at all, and I slept for 10 hours. So oh my God, that's wild.
It's at Tlacuaches.
The baby lacuache.
It's at
I know, it just
Tlacuache.
climbed down the tree and then went
The
across.
Yeah, we
wildlife
have a
and
lot of marsupials here at Tlacuaches.
So that first, close your mouth, right? Breathe through your nose as much as you can. The other one is, I think there's 3 really powerful times to practice breath work. The first is the moment you wake up. The moment you wake up, your brain is still in theta waves, which is connected to your subconscious. For the first 11 minutes you wake up in the morning, you're in theta. So if you're able to sit up, breathe, and say, this is why I'm going to have an amazing day. This is what I'm going to achieve. When you're in theta like that, you're sending those signals to your subconscious. So you start to believe it. But you're starting the day breathing these slow, deep breaths. And so you're already starting to train your nervous system that, okay, right now, this is when I wake up. Because if you can do that repeatedly, like I think it's 7 to 10 times in a row, you start waking up and being alert, not waking up and being like, I don't want to get out of bed. And I talk about this all the time with my instructors too, because they're like, I'm in bed for like an hour before I actually get out. And I'm like, great, you have to implement a daily practice because that will change the way you feel when you wake up. So first thing when you wake up, I think even just for 5 minutes after you eat, because generally around noon is when your cortisol levels are the highest. So if you can do 5 minutes of breathing, you're going to start to lower those cortisol levels, especially if you're someone who experiences a lot of stress or anxiety. It's going to help to bring that down. And then within an hour before you go to bed, that's really going to help you because slow, deep breaths activate more melatonin than a melatonin pill. Slow, deep breaths are actually going to release so much melatonin naturally. And when I say slow and deep, 5 to 6 seconds in and out through the nose. 5 or 6 seconds in, 5 or 6 seconds out.
Okay.
So those practices, I think, can do wonders for sleep.
And for every aspect of your life,
Yeah.
it can just change your entire life. Because
Yeah.
when you're not in that stress, fight, or flight state all the time, like you can think more clearly, you're going to have more energy. Like it's literally going to affect every aspect of your life positively.
Mm-hmm.
I really think.
Yeah.
So what is some big takeaways you want to share from your book or just inspiration why people should read your book?
Yeah.
I just read the first few pages because we literally just got the books. So I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but it was very compelling. You're a great writer.
Thank you.
And like the story, I was like immediately pulled in. I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea this happened to Kevin. Like this is crazy. Like I was on a wild adventure and I was only like 2 pages in. So I highly recommend at least reading the beginning. It's
Yeah.
really exciting.
Yeah. Well, first I will say that if any of this calls to you, keep following it because my journey, like, it started just from leading ice baths on the beach here in Playa. And that moved towards creating an instructor training and doing workshops and facilitating retreats and all these things. And it eventually led me to India, where for about 2 months I was traveling through the around the Tibetan border and trying to find a teacher, trying to find a Tibetan monk who I could learn from, because I really wanted a teacher who came from the Eastern practices and like was born with it. And for 2 months, I was traveling around, going to different monasteries, talking to different monks, trying to find someone who would not only be my teacher, but who spoke English and who understood like the roots of breathwork. And it took me a while, but through a very odd series of events, I eventually found a Tibetan Rinpoche who is essentially he's a reincarnation of a past famous monk or teacher. And through its crazy series of events, like I spent the whole day with him. He invited me to sleep in his private meditation cave out in the Himalayas. It was absolutely incredible. And so I feel like for anyone, again, who's like being called to do this a little bit, I really feel like the universe, whatever it is, like it wants you to do it. It wants you to pursue it and learn more about it and implement it. So I will say that first. The second part is what I call the DALI method. And so it stands for dial in, allow, learn, and improve. So the first part, I'll just go through this, kind of briefly, but the first part is when you have an urge or a craving and it hits wherever you are, you dial in. So you stop and you close your eyes and you breathe slow, 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out. Then you allow. So whatever emotion you're feeling, you just allow it. You don't try and push it away. You don't try and replace it with something else. You just sit there and allow it. Because as I said, most urges last about 90 seconds max, and then they're done. Then you learn. So in the book and on the website, I have worksheets for you that you can fill out every time you have an urge. And so it's, what time it was, where you were at, what you were feeling. Did you get over it? Were you able to allow it? Were you able to process it? Or did you give in? And so each time I have you fill out this worksheet. And so after about a month or even a couple weeks, it depends on the person, you can take a look at all your worksheets. And then I have this Canva spreadsheet that you take the data from the worksheets, you fill in the Canva spreadsheet. So suddenly your addiction, your habit is on this Canvas sheet. And you can see, okay, I do this Tuesdays and Thursdays between 6 and 9 o'clock. I do it because I'm feeling stressed from work. When I actually stop and allow, 80% of the time, I don't indulge in this. And each week, my urges have decreased by 15%. So you can actually start to see like not only what your addiction looks like, but how impactful it is to stop and breathe and allow, because it works essentially the same way with every person that I've done this with, where when they first start, like they have 20 urges the first week, and then the second week they have 15, and then the third week they have 10, and then it's this downward trend. So suddenly it's not like this, your addiction isn't this ethereal thing that you have no control over, right? Like a lot of people use these really powerful words with their addiction, like I'm powerless against it. It has all this control over me. But when you're able to see it on paper and you're able to like actually get a visualization of what it looks like, suddenly you're like, oh no, like I created it. It's a baby of mine that I created, and like I can change it.
You get traumatized by yourself.
Yeah. And you can really pull back and like visually see your patterns.
Exactly.
And when we can like see the patterns, we're like, oh, it's so obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can see like what triggers me, what, like you were saying, the day of the week even.
Yeah.
Like that's a really stressful day of the week, and I always fall into my addiction on that day.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so cool
Yeah.
to be able to observe it.
Yeah.
So do you want to guide us through like a 30-second, 1 minute, like little breathwork experience?
Sure.
For our viewers to experience the power.
Exactly.
Yay!
Okay. So you can actually put your mics down because
Okay.
you don't need the mics.
We don't need to talk.
Yeah. So I want you to sit up nice and straight. Close your eyes. And I'm going to have you start breathing slow and deep through your nose. So go ahead and take a deep breath all the way in. Let it go. And then slowly in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Out. 4, 3, 2, 1. In. 4, 3, 2, 1. Out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep going just like that, nice and slow. And as you're breathing, just like that, I want you to imagine that you're having an urge for whatever it is that you have. It might be food, it might be your phone, it might be a cigarette, it might be a drink. And I want you to try and think of the emotion that you're generally feeling when you have that urge. So it might be stress, it might be financial stress, it might be emotional stress, it might be anxiety, maybe it's just fear. Then I want you to, as you continue those slow, deep breaths, to just think about what sensations am I feeling in my body as I experience this emotion. And where are those sensations occurring? So is it up in my head, in my forehead? Is it like tension in my shoulders? Is it butterflies in my stomach? Is it tightness in my chest? Is it a cramping in my rib? Maybe it's like a pulsing in my back. And as you can kind of hone in on those sensations, you're just going to bring your attention to those places in your body and focus your breath right there. You're going to focus your breath directly in those areas. And as you breathe in, you're going to focus on the spot. As you breathe out, you're just going to think, allow. I'm just allowing it. And when you're ready, you can return to your normal breath and open your eyes. So that's a quick demonstration, but that's the idea behind it. So it's not, in the beginning, it's not a complex breathing, but the more you do it, you can kind of substitute that with other breathing practices. And in my training, like, I teach foundational breath practices, but then I also teach Tibetan practices, which include movements of the body, which are really powerful because sometimes we have a lot of things stored in our body, and so breath along with movement really helps to get those things going. But most of us are just unconscious hyperventilators. We breathe really fast. So just the simple act of slowing our breathing down helps us to kind of pinpoint like what we're feeling, both emotionally and physically, and gives us that opportunity to sort of say, okay, it's okay. Like, everything's fine. The world is not collapsing. And yeah, it just kind of opens up a space for us to allow it and process it.
Wow, that's really powerful. We could sit here and talk about breath all day long. This is such a, like, for me, it's been a really transformational practice in my life. So I've had a lot of personal experience with it, and I love that you've like made it kind of your life mission to share this with people and help people heal with the breath. So we're really grateful that you're here, and we want you to share with our viewers how they can find you, how they can find you here in Playa, how they can buy your book.
Yeah.
Let us know all the things.
Yeah, so the book is available on Amazon. Breathe Into It, Break Out of Addiction, and Dial Into Your Body. reconnectbreath.com is our website. We have workshops. We're doing an expedition this June to India, to where I went in the book, to dive very deep into breath. We're going to be camping under the stars. We're going to be doing breath work out in the Himalayas. It's going to be a crazy experience. And we have videos on YouTube. We have guided breath exercises there. We have guided breath exercises on Spotify. So any of our socials are kind of just resources for you to learn a little bit more. And if you're on the beach, if you're up in the mountains and you just want a breathing exercise on Spotify, you can jump on there as well.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll link all of that in the description box below or the show notes. If you're watching this podcast or listening to this, please share it with your friends. If you have someone in your life that's struggling with addiction or somebody that is interested in breathwork and they want to know more, please share this so that more people can find Reconnect, more people can find Kevin. We believe that you can heal naturally by connecting with nature. Part of our true nature is breathing, eating natural foods, juices, herbs. All of these things can heal us, and that's why we have this podcast, and that's why we invite amazing guests like you to join us. So if you are watching us on YouTube, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, and leave us a comment. If you have questions for Kevin or you want to have him come back and talk about something specific, let us know in the comments. If you have an experience with breathwork, let us know in the comments. We love connecting with you in that way, and we're so grateful that you're here and that you stayed till the end and you watched this podcast with us.
Thank you so much for coming, and thank you so much for watching this podcast. See you in the next time.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.
Adios.